Welcome to Mondays with Coach Rice. It's a brand new week, the sun's shining bright. A chance to cast your net, step into the light. Life's full of challenges, it's a winding stream. But with Coach Rice, you'll find your dream.
And welcome to Casting the Net Mondays with Coach Rice, where we care about your mental health and well-being. With me today, I have a special guest. Her name is Candice Pedersen, and she is a leadership development coach and consultant. So, Candice, tell us where you're from and how did you end up on this particular career path?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. The big career path, I am from Wyoming, so little tiny
Oh,
town in Wyoming. And I took a position as a regional director for a home health agency here in Idaho. And so I transitioned into that role where I'm a leader of leaders, and I learned so many things during that transition. I'm a nurse by trade, and so in that transition from field nurse to director to regional director, I learned so many things the hard way. And
okay.
so, one of my big passions in life is to help, especially nurses, but really anyone who's looking to transition into that more leadership role, whether that means you're leading yourself or you're leading others, um, to just have more joy and success in that. I'm disc certified with Maxwell Leadership, and so that was one of
Oh,
the progressions in my coaching, is to be able to have a little more tools in my toolbox when it came to being able to help other people develop those leadership skills without having the struggle that I went through during that process. And I developed a passion for that when I had someone step into my role, and I was helping her. And then unfortunately, she passed away. And at that time, I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot not do this. I had thought about coaching since I got coaching at one point during my career where I was really stuck and really frustrated and ready to quit. And I found out she was kind of in that same position. And I was like, oh my gosh, I should have helped her. I should have been there. I should have been. And, I don't think there's anything that I could have necessarily done differently, but I want to help other people in that position where they're sitting in their car crying before they go into work and
right.
struggling with their people and not knowing how to communicate well with people. So that's how I kind of got on that career path. And then heart and backbone, I want to be able to help people find the balance between that heart where they have that compassion and that love for their team, along with the backbone, being able to have that strength to really hold the expectation and hold the line for their team. So that's where the name comes from, and kind of a little background on my passion for it, because it's a struggle, and you move into those roles thinking you got the title's going to make everything all better, and then you start doing it. You have one person that's like, your meetings are too long or your meetings are too short, and then next thing you know, you're all over the place and you don't really know what's right and wrong. And so knowing
Oh,
that
wow.
really helps.
So what would you say the characteristics of a good leader is?
I think transparency is huge. I think being authentic, knowing who you are. That's why I love the Maxwell disc so much, because with that, it's specifically for leaders. And so you learn yourself better. And once you know yourself better, you're able to grow in really impactful areas. So when you don't really know where you need to grow, it's hard to find a direction, because we're in this age where we have so much information all the time. We can get any book, we can get any podcast, we can listen to reels, and everywhere there's information. But how do you know what's right and what's wrong for you when it comes to where you need to develop the most?
Right.
So that self-awareness, you start to when you start to learn yourself, then you can start making the changes where your weaknesses are, or your non-strengths, I like to call them. And then your strengths, really being able to utilize those strengths. And that makes you into a more authentic person, where you're the same person at work as you are at home. I mean, it's different, of course, but you're not having to change yourself or hype yourself up, because you're just, you know who you are, and you're okay in who you are. I used to feel like I was watching myself like in a movie all the time. Like I never was really in my own body until I got coaching and started to work on my self-awareness piece. And then I felt like I could stop watching what I was doing and actually be in my own body, if that sounds so weird, but that's how it felt. Like it was just like watching a movie,
Like
and
an
I
out of
wasn't
body
wasn't all there.
experience.
Exactly.
Yeah, because you're right. People get the title and the
Hmm.
role is right there in front of them and don't know what to do next, don't know how to develop a team, right? And so when what is your onboarding process for your particular leadership development training or coaching?
Yeah, absolutely. So, once I find someone who's a good fit, I have an application process. So I'm pretty particular about who I'm taking in, because just because you want to learn doesn't mean that you're coachable or in that space. I want you to have goals. I want you to have some ideas of how you need to change, and where you want to go. I want you to have some sort of role, like maybe a life coach like you would be a great start. And then once you're like, okay, I want to move into a leadership role, or I want to start my own business, that's where you're going to come to me and say, okay, I need some clarity around this thing. I want to develop my values and mission as a leader and what that looks like. So I want to make sure that, number one, those people are going to be a good fit for me, and I'm going to be a good fit for them. So they do the application, and then I have just a 30-minute, they do the application is free, and then the 30-minute call is free. And we just kind of talk through, like, what do you see? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I think we overwhelm ourselves sometimes with where we want to be forever. Like, this is
Right.
what I want to do forever. And then they get so wrapped up and stuck in, like, okay, well, how am I even going to do that if I have to do it forever? And, taking it in little bite-sized pieces is so much easier. So I call it my vision call, and we look at what that vision is for the next 5 years. And if it is learning to lead yourself better, and that self-awareness piece, and maybe leading others, maybe just leading yourself, then that's something that we can definitely work on, especially when it comes to that communication. Working with everybody gets a disc. Like, that's just my standard. That's what we build off of to help you
Okay.
become a better leader and a better communicator.
How important is it to have a goal of 5 years? And how do you think about that?
I think if my mom always said that if you don't aim at something, you're bound to hit it.
Right.
And so having some sort of goal in mind, and that can change. I've changed since I started my coaching journey in the last year and a half, like on my own. I've always done some sort of coaching within being a leader, a nursing leader, but having my own clients and pulling people in, it's changed multiple times, and it's still kind of morphing depending on the kind of clients that I'm getting. I get a lot of like nurse coaches who are trying to figure out how to build their business. And so then I
Okay.
start to morph into a little bit of a business coach. But when you have an overarching mission or purpose, that shouldn't necessarily change, because you have a mission of helping people be better people. And it doesn't have to be this super specific, I want to be. In fact, it really shouldn't, because then you're putting yourself in this box. But I want to be able to help people develop leadership skills and manage their own emotions and communication for better joy and success forever. like whatever that looks like for me, I want to be able to help people, especially women, because I feel like women leadership comes with its own set of issues. So
Hmm.
I think having something that you're aiming at, even if that's something, the specificity of that thing changes a little bit, you have some idea that you're living for more than just today. You want to be present in your today, but you also want to have something you're aiming
Yeah.
at so you can build those goals and vision and mission around that thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very important to have some type of like plan so you can create a
Mhm.
roadmap. And it don't have to be, it can be a little flexibility in it, but at least you
When
know
we
where you're going.
change, right?
Yeah.
We're always
Hmm. Five
changing and
years, you can
evolving.
definitely
Yeah. I just like 5 years
years.
because you got that like 10-year plan and that really long distance. 5 years goes really fast. And
Mhm.
when you can kind of break it down, like, okay, I know where I'm aiming. Let's start to get progress towards something. Because otherwise, I just think we just live our lives and lives go so fast. Your weeks just go so fast. Pretty soon it's Friday and you're like, oh my gosh, did I even do this week? So being intentional with your time is so important.
So who are your ideal clients? Is it corporations, individuals, you know?
Um, a little bit of both right now. I've changed recently to do more organizations locally. So in my area, in Southeast Idaho, I'm doing different organizations where I can go in and do the developmental training, or not, excuse me, professional development training for their employees. So really helping people with their people problems at a local level. Because right now I have little kids. I don't want to travel all over the place all the time. So keeping that face-to-face stuff more locally, the corporate end of it, and then my big focus audience online is nurses. So my one-to-one coaching is mostly focused around nurses because I am a nurse. I speak that language. I understand the burnout and the frustrations and the just everything that we deal with on top of just regular leadership. So nurses who are looking to move into leadership roles. I've worked with some nurses who didn't want to move into leadership roles, but it's like once you're a nurse for so long, they're like, "Oh, you need to be in leadership. That's like your next logical step." And they're like, "No, that was me. I didn't have any desire to be in leadership. I turned down that promotion 3 different times. Like, no, I
Oh,
don't. I
wow.
don't want anything to do with it. I want to stay in the field doing my thing, but I kept feeling like there was more, like I was being called to something greater than that. So I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. And so I've had some nurses that are very similar to that, where they're like, ugh, I just don't have the skills for that. So getting the skills before you need them, leadership is something that can be learned. There's natural leaders for sure, but it's something that you
Mhm.
can learn and develop and grow as long as you're coachable, willing to learn. We can help get you those tools to help you lead your teams better. Even if it's just like you're a lead on the floor, you you have supervisory role, you have people looking up to you. So it's just really important to start developing those skills. And nurses are really my passion when it comes to that because
Okay.
I've been there. I get it.
I never would think about nurses and, being that specific and and having nurses that's looking to go into a leadership role. I never really would have thought that they would need coaching. Um, and what roles are they going into? Is it the vice president or supervisory, or is
There,
it those type of roles they going into? Because I always think nurses just they're gonna be a nurse. Never think about them moving up.
yeah. So nurses are often really high leadership roles in healthcare organizations. So
Mhm.
they'll end up being CEOs. The first step is like a lead or a floor nurse, like a shift lead where you're leading that shift. You help with staffing, things like that. And then
Okay.
units, you'll be in charge of a unit. be in charge of a branch, depending on what kind of area you're in, clinic supervisors, tons and tons. And we get some of that leadership. And I think nursing schools are doing a little better at that than they used to. Because, like you, they're like, well, I'm training them to be a nurse. I want them to be able to pass meds, do wound care, do IVs, all of those
Right.
basic things. Well, not basic, but all of those kind of elementary things for nurses. And so we kind of miss out on a little bit of that leadership. A lot of the leadership that I went through in school had to do with who I can delegate to. Like you have your CNAs or your
Mhm.
LPNs, and you can delegate these tasks to those people. But it doesn't say like how to talk to that person when you go to delegate that skill. Are they going to be really mad at you because you're delegating to them and you didn't tell them why you're delegating? They just think you're lazy and now they're mad at you and they hate your guts. And they don't teach you that part. You kind of have to figure that part out on your own. So that's where I come in and I can help you work on that communication and connection piece to really have a greater impact in that nursing leadership.
Now, when you are, coaching leaders, do you implement emotional intelligence?
Oh, absolutely. So I have an 8-week program, which is just my basic program. I have longer ones as well. But my 8-week program, we talk about time management. We talk about finding your mission, vision, and values. We have a really big values exercise that we do where you get some value-based goals, and then a whole section on emotional intelligence, which kind of goes along with DISC. It's all about that self-awareness. I have my own proprietary connection method, which is sort of a combination of the emotional intelligence and the DISC. So it's taking the like self-awareness, awareness of others, and then actionable awareness steps that you can take and say, okay, here's here's what I need to do to connect with these people better. Now that I'm aware of myself, I'm aware of others, and you can kind of read the room. It's that piece of
Right.
like, oh, this person is really upset, or I'm feeling like this conversation is going well or not well. And so once you learn the awareness of yourself, awareness of others, then you're able to actually relate to them on that higher level of the emotional intelligence piece, where if you don't start with that self-awareness, you're going to have a really hard time with awareness of your emotions and the other aspects of the emotional intelligence. But yes, huge
What would
fan.
Oh yeah, I think that's so important. What would you say some of the most complicated issues that leaders face?
People. um, just you want to be, and just like I said, the heart and backbone combination, because you end up being this like counselor for people, and you don't mean to, and you may or may not be equipped for that at all. I actually wanted to go into counseling when I was a kid, and then I found out how much schooling I would have to do to become a counselor and talked myself out of it. But you have to do so many hats and you have to be that person for everybody that it's really easy to slip into that like ruinous empathy, if you've ever heard of the radical candor, or you're too hard, you're too far the other direction where you're like, oh, get out of my office. I can't, this is not my problem. Do your job. Those kinds of things. And we hear those messages, even if it's not stated like that, we hear those messages from corporations where it's like, we need to improve productivity and we need to increase our bottom line and our revenue, and we need our people working harder and doing, and it's just another way of saying we don't really care about what's going on with you. And so we
Right.
have to figure out how to really care about our people and hold the line for them, help them understand the reason why we need productivity and the importance of their engagement. And there's just so much to working with humans. You have your tasks. The tasks are easy. You can check off the tasks. But until I like to say the cream rises to the top, you've held people accountable. They understand the expectations. They're doing the things they're supposed to do. You're rewarding them for what they're doing well and talking to them when they're not doing things the right way. The cream rises to the top. And a lot of times, when you move like that in an organization, you're going
Mhm.
to lose people because of the people who have had the ruinously empathetic boss that said, "Oh, it's okay, come on in here. We're gonna pat you on the head." And, if they have the power
Right.
to give them a raise or whatever, uh, then then they do that. And then next thing you know, these people are just out of control. So
Right.
you've got these out of control people that aren't doing what they need to do. So then the cream rises to the top. You get the people who really are on board with your mission and they're aligned with your values. And that's where you can really be successful and find that great culture and
Hmm.
you have the warm fuzzies when you go to work. I mean, maybe not all the time. Work is still work and there's still things that are not good, but dealing with that people and finding that balance of the
Right.
heart and the backbone, love, compassion, but having strengths still, that's
Right.
that's tough. It's tough, man.
I can imagine because leadership is it's a I love when I was in leadership in corporate. I really loved it,
Mm.
and my ultimate goal was always to develop the people up under me. That was my ultimate goal, is to make sure that they grow and be successful. So if you can give the audience one piece of advice, what would it be?
Take care of yourself first. Being able to take care of yourself and have a good awareness of where your emotions are, knowing when you feel that stress rising up, when you start to feel that when there's conflict and you start to feel emotion rise, like I will turn like red and blotchy. I'm getting better, but when you start to feel that come up, name it and address it and dismiss it or deal with it, whatever it is that you have to do with it. And then you're able to really present yourself. I call it the 2 deep breaths rule. It drives people insane, because they'll ask me a question that's it's a hard or difficult question. And I'll literally stop and breathe. And if it's a big one, I'll breathe twice. And I call it two. I don't always breathe twice, but I always count to two at least. And in that time, you're able to process those emotions and know when you need to step away. Know when you need to say, let me get back to you on that. I'm not quite sure. Can I get back to you this afternoon or tomorrow? We just get in this rush of everything. And then we struggle with boundaries, we struggle with burnout, we struggle with boldness because
Yes.
we want to just please everybody. But if you can take that problem, and even if you go walk around a circle around your office, if you can't go somewhere, I like to walk around the building. But take that problem and turn it into just a task. You're saying, okay, I have this problem, it's now a task. I'm not emotionally invested in it at that point. I'm able to take it and deal with it on a task basis. And with my disc assessment, which I guess I should explain: dominant, influencing, inspiring, steady, stable, and compliant. And so you have these different personality traits, communication traits. And when you understand your team and yourself in those areas, you'll know, like, okay, I need to process this in this certain way. So when you're processing it, you know who you are and how to process it. So don't be so fast to have to make that decision unless it is a decision you have to make right now. Know yourself and be able to take those breaks, avoid the burnout, manage your emotions and things like that to where you can really feel good about what you're doing and
Mhm.
the decisions you're making. Because we got to slow down. We just get in this big old hurry. We're making all these decisions and getting frustrated, and our brains just aren't meant to process that way. We need time
That's true.
we need
And
time to think.
a lot of times we are, we never take the time out to take a breather. We
Right.
just react.
Yes.
And so you're right, it is good to take a breather and take a moment and take care of yourself so you
And
won't.
there's a difference between responding and reacting. And
Right.
so find that balance so that you know how you can best manage yourself and your people. It's huge.
Hmm. What do you think about micromanagement? I hate it. And
Yes.
people do it. It's the worst, to me, one of the worst leadership skills to take on. But people think it's good to do. What do you think about that?
I've heard a lot of people, a lot of bosses, a lot of high up people in organizations say, well, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to have to micromanage this right now. And what that does is that cripples your staff. Like, I
Mhm.
just really need to I need to be on top of this. I need to micromanage this. All it does is let your staff know that they don't really have to manage it. So why are
Right.
they even gonna try? Because you already told them you're gonna micromanage this, and like that's supposed to scare them into some sort of like follow up with you. Like they're gonna go ahead and hop right in and like, well, we wouldn't want her to do that. Well, she already is. So
Right.
I'm just gonna let her. If you're gonna go ahead and do my job for me, then go for it.
Then go ahead.
And
Yeah.
people can't think. It puts you into this fight or flight where you're just acting on your lizard brain, where you're not really focusing on the big picture anymore because you
Hmm.
don't even know what it is most of the time. When you have a micromanaging boss, it's tasks. You've shifted. You don't care about the people anymore. You don't care about the like overall mission, vision, why are we here? All you care about is making sure that that task gets done. And so you're just crippled. You don't think for yourself anymore. And you have no freedom to make. I mean, there's certain decisions that you can't make at certain levels. Like that's just how it is in any sort of, the owner sometimes has to make the decision or the
Right.
CEO or whatever. But really having clear expectations of your team where their power lies, that means they have power. And then they're going to use that power and they have your mission and vision. You've already hired them as someone who's got a good attitude for your organization, so you can trust them.
Right.
And have those conversations early on, like this is what the expectation is. And then if they're not holding up the expectation, that's where the crucial conversations come in, or courageous conversations, I like to call them, where you can start to really manage people in a way that's healthy and they feel empowered and they want to help you. But when
Right.
they feel micromanaged, they want to push against the system. They're not going to want to help you. They're going to if they want to keep their job, and that's the only reason they're there. They're not going to be there doing it because they want to or that they care. They're just going through the motions. And that to me is one of the most toxic cultures that you can have because it's just
Yes.
a bunch of yes men. And if
And when
you're
they get
doing
to that
something that's
point,
a,
yeah.
yeah, you're doing something that's a bad decision and everyone knows it but you because they're too scared to talk to you, that's
Hmm.
terrifying to me. Be approachable.
Yeah, it's
Be
nothing
part of that
worse
team.
than yeah, it's nothing worse. And people who are really micromanaging are reacting.
Yes.
They're not responding.
Scared. Yep.
And they're anxious and and you pick up that. And then when you are the person that's up under them and you start to feel like you not capable, you start to get anxious and now you have a person who is actually literally not present at the job anymore. They actually indirectly walked out. They have walked out
Mm-hmm.
without the seat is occupied, but they have walked out.
Yep.
And
And
that's the
people want to
most
feel, sorry. People want to feel like they're part of something bigger than they are, like something bigger than them. And if you're micromanaging them, all they see is right in front of their face. They don't see anything past that because they don't know where you're going. They're just doing what you say. It's
And I brought that up because I really see a lot of people who, and especially in my coaching business, sometimes come to me about how to deal with that because they want to enhance their relationship skills in that area
Yep.
because they're dealing with it. And I'm surprised that how many people are still, how many leaders are still holding on to this view that leadership is good when you micromanage. It's the weirdest thing, but it's the most toxic relationship to have.
Yep.
And so that's why I brought it up because of that, because I it just it does it, I see it a lot in client that people need help in that area. And so how can people reach you and if they need your services?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me at heartandbackbone, all one word.com. And then I am Candies underscore coaching on Instagram. And then just Candy Pedersen or Heart and Backbone on Facebook. And then you can just email me if you'd like that application. If you're interested in services, you can email me at candy@heartandbackbone.com. And I'd love to just have a, like I said, free 30-minute vision call with you and figure out where you're going to be in that next 5 years. And if it's something that looks good for us to work together, I would love that.
And do you have anything special coming up in the future or?
I have a couple of webinars coming up for specifically for nurses right now, but I've got one on June 3rd. And you can find that it's, oh gosh.
And you can send me the links. I would definitely
Yeah, I'll
put
send
them in the
those links
video. Send me the
over.
links. I'll put them in the video so people can actually all the links so they can get in touch with you and your webinars and
Yeah, that sounds great.
anything like that. Yeah. So, so thank you so much for sharing your wisdom on leadership. I think it's very important. Business owners need leadership development, and even people in their own home sometimes need it. And so I think it's very important to have that skill set. And so if you guys feel like this conversation was needed for you or anyone you may know, please reach out to Candice and see if she can help you. And it's a 30-minute free consult, so it wouldn't cost you anything to learn about her services. So please reach out if you feel that this was helpful. Please do share and subscribe to the channel because I always have amazing people on there. And thank you, Candice, so much for coming on. We really appreciate you, and and hope to see, continue to follow you and see what you're doing in the future.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. All right, we are signing off.
We'll heal every heart, so join us now. Let's make life suffice. Welcome to Mondays with Coach Rice.